Hey guys, welcome back. Today I want to show you how to install Synology's DSM software on your QNAP NAS. Before I can go any further into this step-by-step guide, I want to make it abundantly clear straight away off the outset. This is not for you guys that are looking to take advantage of Synology software without paying for it. This is not a stable platform. Use this for trial purposes. Use this to get to grips to see if your QNAP NAS is worth replacing with a Synology NAS. Use it to find out what it's like on the other side of the field and ultimately what's going on with Synology. Effectively, use this for trial purposes. Do not use this as a stable platform. It is by no means stable enough to be a reliable source for your network attached storage data in your RAID. You will fundamentally undermine your storage and ultimately jeopardize all of your data, the pictures of your family, the pictures of your loved ones, and all that important data that you've created. You could jeopardize and lose all of that if you rely on something like this. So please use this for experimentation, but nothing more than that. So that's the disclaimer out of the way. Let's get straight into this. I found about this a long time ago. I'd already learned about something called Xpenology before from the guys at Synology before. I had a few people doing guides and stuff. Synology frown on it massively, and I do question the legality of it, but it's worth stating that this is quite a straightforward installation, and if you just want to find out about DSM a little bit, this is a great way to do it. Maybe you're using a QNAP NAS and you love the hardware, but the software is not doing it for you and you're wondering whether Synology software will do it for you. This is a great way to find out whether it's worth buying a Synology NAS. I will stop bunging disclaimers everywhere. So the first thing you're going to need to do is install Virtualization Station. It is the VM software from the guys at QNAP, and you will have to also ensure that you've got a relatively powerful NAS. You want at least an Intel-based CPU, quad core ideally, so you've got enough hardware to support the virtual machine of DSM and the NAS itself. So a quad core Intel based CPU minimum, I'd say, as well as at least 4 gig of memory, although we're only going to use 2 gig of memory for this version of DSM. And again, I've got to do a big thanks to Rajar, I'm sorry if I've pronounced that wrong, on the QNAP forum. It was a great guide from him. All the links are in his link there, and I'll try and include as much of it as possible in the description below this video. So once you've got Intel Virtualization Station installed, you want to open up this application, and then also from there either go to the link in the description or the link in the QNAP forum article and download this link here. This will give you a modified version of the bootloader for Virtualization Station. Once you've downloaded that, it will be a zip folder. Have that and extract it on your PC and just know where it is. In my case, I've stuck it inside my downloads folder and it's sitting there waiting, and it will extract these files. From here on Virtualization Station, make sure you've maximized the full screen of it, because there'll be an option up here that's slightly hidden otherwise called Import VM. Go to Import VM, and you want to import from your local machine, so your PC, and now it wants you to select the installation kind of trigger file. This is going to be the OVF file here. We're going to click Open, and then it will make sure that we upload these 2 files. Those are the other 2 files in that directory that we downloaded earlier. Select them one by one and then click Open. From here, click Next, and then we can start building it. So we're going to call this Synology DSM Experiment. We're going to give it 2 cores of the available 4 cores on this NAS that I'm using today. And we're going to install the NAS on a location, and I'm going to install this in the downloads directory. Not ideal, and I would recommend creating a separate directory for an installation of a virtual machine, but for now I'm just going to use one of the general ones there. We're not going to worry too much about the description, and we're going to give this virtual machine 2 gigabytes of memory. We also want to click the advanced settings and scroll down, and for the CPU we want to select pass-through. We don't have to, and this NAS CPU utilizes quite a powerful one, but for now we're just going to select pass-through so it can label itself as it goes. Next, we're going to want to give the virtual machine its own network port of an assignment, and it will be there. We're not going to change anything there. But what's important down here is the hard disk, because technically we're going to have to create 2 virtual hard disks. One to start the installation and the other one to be the receiver of that installation. So one of them being, say, the installation disk, like a CD-ROM almost, or a DVD as you would install software, and the other one is the destination for that installation. So we make sure both of them are set to SATA controllers, and then from there click import. This will start creating our virtual machine, and this virtual machine that it's going to create is what's going to be the initialization of DSM. It's going to create this virtual sandbox environment with which it will extract the DSM installation that is normally found on the area of flash memory on a Synology NAS. QNAP NAS is exactly the same, and it will have an area of flash storage readily available that has the DSM on board, and then from there it begins the installation. What we're doing is creating a virtual equivalent of that flash storage on virtualization station, which it can then extract DSM in the formal, usual manner that DSM is installed onto our NAS. So I'm going to fast forward a bit to the completion of this part of the video. And there we have it. We've got our Synology installation there. The DSM beginning part has now been set up as that virtual machine. The next thing we want to do is make our way into the settings menu of this VM that we've created here and change a few of the key settings. If we look through it, there's the name of it. We've got the number of cores, the amount of memory, everything's fine there. Next, we can go into the boot options. We're already booting from the hard disk because we've created those files, along with the network switch. If we go into the storage options, what we need to do now is the second hard drive that we've created. We need to give this device some storage. So I'm going to give this 100 gig of storage for the DSM, because once again, this is just a trial. Do not use this as your usual storage array, otherwise you will have problems. Another error I saw a change when I was looking at some of the other tutorials was to do with audio. Everyone seems to be disabling this audio functionality, and I do think that is a big problem with this, so it's probably for the best that we disable the audio options too. But apart from that, the controls of everything, it's fairly well laid out, and that's really the only changes we have to make. So if we go back to the overview, we can now click Start and begin our virtual machine. Now, a virtual machine is accessible in a number of ways. We've got a little tiny portal area here, but what we can do is click that window there, and what it will do is it will open up a browser-based access point to our virtual machine. For those that aren't aware, virtual machines are digitally created versions that map their physical hardware counterparts and create a computer that you can access remotely. It's a virtual equivalent of a physical machine. This virtual machine here is creating a tiny VM of that flash storage that lives inside a NAS that lets you set it up for the first time. What you need to do once you've got this done is to follow the instructions. Head over to Find My Synology, and then what it will do is scan the local area network to find this NAS. As we can see, it has found the DS918 installation that we're doing here as a virtual machine. Same network, 192.168.112, and the same IP range. What we need to do is, you can see DSM has not been installed, and that's because the first virtual hard drive space we created is going to install DSM onto the second one. So now we're going to click connect and install the DSM on this virtual Synology NAS that we've created as we would a normal one. Just agree to the terms and conditions, and these are things that happen when you do a normal installation of Synology DSM software on a Synology NAS. Next we click Setup, and again this is exactly the same as installing DSM on a regular Synology NAS. We'll say that the format on the drives will be deleted. We click OK, and now we're going to install DSM, and that's it. Now our installation of DSM on this virtual Synology NAS that lives on a QNAP NAS is going to complete. And again, this is exactly the same as the installation for a Synology NAS. The only thing I would highlight once again, and I know I'm being repetitious, is this is for trial and testing purposes. I do not want you guys losing data doing this, considering it as a viable alternative to an actual Synology NAS. It really isn't. I love Synology NAS, I love QNAP NAS, and I do not want you guys to endanger your data. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit to the completion of this installation. Right, so the system has kind of fake rebooted, and now we can get to the same screen and we can see that the DSM has been installed on our virtual DS918, which is on our physical QNAP NAS. Once again, it's all there. We can see the CPU and memory utilization as we go. But let's go ahead and connect to our NAS. Right, so here we are on the user creation area of the Synology NAS. This is exactly what you'd see if you were logging into a DS918 Plus in the physical sense. But for now, what we're going to do is create an account on our virtual Synology NAS, the virtual DSM that's on our QNAP NAS. And then from here, we're going to set the device up like I would any Synology NAS in my other videos. With regard to DSM, we're probably going to let it not be automatic, because obviously a newer version of DSM may not work in our virtual environment, and it could jeopardize the stability even further than this virtual DSM could be. So for now, I'm just going to click notify me when they're available, but no more than that. Moving forward from here, we can check out the next option to set up Quick Connect. We're not going to do that. That's to give remote access to it, but because we're using a virtual machine, we've already got remote access to it thanks to the QNAP NAS. And that's it. Now we're on our DSM 6.2 user interface, which is pretty impressive indeed. And again, this is Synology's DSM. I'm not going to say it's wholly stable, as already mentioned, but I am going to say that you are now looking at Synology's NAS software on a QNAP NAS as a virtual machine. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit there, because for some reason it's on such a low resolution there for the virtual machine. And from here, it's pretty much straightforward. If we make our way into the control panel here, we can have a look at the information center and see how the specs are displayed. We can see that the CPU is displayed wrong there, but because of pass-through, it's not going to see it. But you can see the clock speed is the one that we're using. This is a 972XU QNAP rack. So that was obviously quite a lot of CPU power inside there. I believe this is an i3 or an i5. So it's obviously not going to show that on the software. But there's the 2 gig of memory that we appropriated for our virtual machine. If we look into the virtualization station backend, that's the disk still, disk 1, the ROM, the sort of flash memory that we were using to create our Synology DSM, but we don't need to keep that second one anymore, because now we've got our full installation. If we look at my local area network, we can see other Synology NASs. I'm just going to log into my DS1019 Plus, and this is an actual DS1019 Plus. My rendering software is slowing things down a little bit, but that's not too much of a problem. If we go into the package center, we just sign up to the terms and conditions as we normally would. And from here, we can straight away make our way all the way in and check out all those apps and install all the applications just like we would on a Synology NAS. But what I would say is that not only can I not guarantee their stability, which is something I've said about 10 times in this video, but also if you go down this road, chances are you should be buying a Synology NAS anyway, because if you're interested in the apps and you're interested in the utility of Synology NAS, then you get the right one. If you try and use a make-fix sort of bodge job like this to enjoy those applications, they're not going to be truly representative of the applications themselves. And again, we are definitely seeing delays here on this VM version of DSM. Definitely something that compares quite wildly different to that of DSM on a normal Synology NAS. The resource monitor, if we log in, we'll be able to see from the storage manager how much is visible on that 100 gigabytes we created, as well as the memory being utilized. And on DS1019 I've got next door, you can see they look identical. See, there's the CPU utilization, very low indeed, but it's not going to be very accurate. And there's the 2 gig of memory. Again, Great stuff, and it's going to give a lot of you QNAP users out there a good chance to wrap your head around Synology's NAS platform. But once again, if you're going to look at storage pools like this, if you're going to do RAID storage, don't rely on quick fix experimentations like this, because if it's photos that are irreplaceable, the last thing you want to do is use something like this. But what I will say is this does give you a great opportunity to utilize the DSM software, and see if it fits your needs. Don't get me wrong, there is a fantastic DSM live demo available from Synology, but you're not going to be able to cater it as well as you could one of these. But this has been how to install DSM on a QNAP NAS. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.